Hello and welcome to Prusa Live. I am here with my good friend Mikolas and, of course, Joseph Prusa, and I'm Matt Stoltz. So this is number 7. We're starting to become pros at this, I think. Really. But hopefully this time, unlike 6, YouTube will cooperate with us and we'll have a nice smooth show. But we'll see. We have a special guest with us today. Nick Daimlo, Bugman140. He'll be joining us later. But let's kick things off with our PrusaPrinters picks of the week. Mikolas, what do you got?
If you look closely, you can already see it. It's right behind me, and it's a holder for the print sheets. They will fall out if I handle it, so I will just remove them. Yep, it's a simple print, but it's super useful, especially if you have, well, obviously more than one sheet, like the textured one and the smooth one. And then if you have like 2 or 3 printers, you really start to, switch them around, and they are everywhere. So this is super handy. But really, this one is made by iFreyz. I'm gonna get myself a little bit louder. Apparently I'm quiet, okay. But really I wanted to highlight all the designs for steel sheet holders. That's a difficult word.
Nice.
Because there's quite a lot of them on PrusaPrinters, and I think they're like really handy. So yeah, if you just go on PrusaPrinters and you look for a sheet holder or just sheet, there are tons of designs, and they are for both the mini sheets, for Mark III, and I've even seen combo designs. If you have both the mini and the Mark III, you can get designs where there's like 3 slots for the big sheets and 3 slots for the smaller ones.
That's really great. I saw one there that like attaches to an IKEA lac table, which I think is a really
yeah. It's for the enclosure. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like my Prusas are in like those kind of like metal like kitchen racks, and I would love one of those sheet holders that like mounts to the racking there. So I might have to see if I can mod one of the existing designs, because that'd be super cool. Joe, what do you have for us?
So I have Roman Terrace Garden Succulent planter. Let me see. Can you see it properly?
Oh yeah.
Printed on my mini. And I know it is not the most spectacular print, but I just finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or I platinumed it a couple days ago. So it is a fitting theme for me, and I'm setting up my apartment, so we will have some plants here.
It needs a plant, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really great. It's really cute. My wife keeps planting lots of different succulents, and was even looking yesterday at like a succulent a month club where they like mail you 2 different succulents every month. And so like I'm constantly printing succulent pots and other plant pots, which we will talk about later on in the show actually. And I have a feeling when she sees that one that will definitely be on the list of prints. It's also impressive that print's on the mini.
Oh, it could be bigger, but I forgot to tell that it's made by Qrome on the PrusaPrinters.
Nice. Okay. So I have one of our contest entries from the last contest,
Nice.
which is let's see, I'm pulling it up here. It is a lawn sprinkler that uses one of the Prusament spool ends as kind of a stabilizing base. And this morning I took it out and plugged it into my sprinkler, or my hose, and tried it out, and it works great. It did a great job like spraying my lawn down. Which it's been super dry here, so my lawn's like actually really kind of crusty, and I've been thinking, oh, I need to get a sprinkler, but hey, now I don't have to. I just printed one, and it works really great. And this is from let me pull it up here. Rayjizza, who put in a lot of things, and actually I think got an honorable mention if I remember correctly, or something.
Yeah. I think he was one of the top 5 most liked. So he got one of the smaller prizes.
Right. Yeah. So this one was great. There's a couple things. He's got a bunch of different parts, and I think I'm going to try some of the others, because there's a couple things I would like to see a little bit different. But He's also a great designer, and I feel like I could probably just go to him and say, "Hey, here's some update ideas," and he might even.
How does it
update
work?
the
Does
print
it
himself.
just the water smashes the printed part and that induces a rotation?
No, so there's no real rotation.
Okay.
It sprays almost in a 360.
Oh, I see.
You can see there's like a little.
Yeah.
Trying to pull my camera back up here. You can see that there's like a little spike there, and it's a cone, and so when the water hits that, it just shoots out everywhere. So it works great.
Cool.
I was very impressed with it. So yeah, another cool print and useful print on Prusa printers, and again, like I don't have to worry about staking it into my yard or anything like that. The spool works as a perfect base for it.
Rayjizza is in the chat. Hello. Thanks for the cool model.
Yeah, it's great.
Rayjizza in the house.
All right. So speaking of contests, we actually have a new contest coming, and I'm super excited about this one.
We do.
Yeah, fun story on it. This basically came out of the last Prusa Live call. At the end of the last Prusa Live call, Joe said, "You know what I think would be a really great contest?" And bam, here we are. So why don't you tell us about it, Mikolas?
Actually, a fun thing. I figured it would be cool to publish the article about the competition live on the stream. So I am clicking publish right now. So literally wasn't live, and it is now. So the big topic for this competition is lights. There are two. Yeah. Joe, you want to tell us about the two categories? Because that was actually your idea.
Oh, okay. So I don't know how it is in the article because
I will show it on the. Yeah, but it's the two categories that you suggested.
Yeah, but the general idea is to make something which is without any additional electronics, so everybody can basically print it and assemble it easily without any additional parts or programming or stuff like that. So basically lampshades and stuff. But we also wanted to do something because we knew that there will be a lot of people doing stuff with like addressable LEDs and stuff like that. So something more advanced and more, I would say, programmable and more like a light show as a second category. But I wanted for both categories to be motivated to do something great because I mean. Obviously, some of the stuff which will be programmed with addressable LEDs will be more of an effect, but it might demotivate people doing something more simpler, which will be beautiful in different way, and you would put it on your nightstand or something. So that's why I thought it is important to do like two separate categories. So
there are two Mark IIIs in the competition. You can win one if you have the best design for a light bulb socket. So there's a really cheap one from IKEA, but I'm sure there's like a ton of them. They have pretty much the same dimensions. So yeah, that's what's the no extra super hard wiring category is. Just it incorporates a light socket. And the other one is basically everything else. So all your wild programmable RGB strip ideas and all those things.
Yeah, I think this is really great because it's like almost two competitions in one. So there's two chances for people to win. So lots of opportunities there. But B, the addressable LEDs, like I love addressable LED projects. I've done a bunch in the past, and they're super cool. But they don't always, they aren't necessarily everyday aesthetically pleasing often. But the kind of more like, simple light bulb, stand lampshade kind of thing, is definitely something someone would likely want around their house.
Yeah,
and
they don't want everyone to make super overcomplicated things because it doesn't have to be super complicated to be beautiful, and useful.
And printing things around your house is really, really useful.
Yeah, there's even an slightly older but still up to date, article, nothing really changed since then, about LED lights where you can get some inspiration from. So there's the recording sign that's actually still.
Hey, that looks really familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. I kept that one. I like it. So yeah, you can use some LED strips. And yeah, this whole article was actually, the point was to keep it simple. So there was no Arduino or no programming. So if you want to check that out, it's on the blog.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, so before we move on and talk to Nick, I saw you posted some notes in here that there's some new stuff coming to the CW1 firmware wise, right?
Oh yeah, that's a little sneak peek. Like even the Qrome machine gets firmware updates. So what's currently cooking in the developer then is first of all the CW1 will speak multiple languages. Just like almost all our products, we try to really, I think by now maybe all of them, to translate them, to translate the firmware. And the second thing, which I think is, I didn't expect that one, is preheating for the resin. So most resins have a working temperature, because if they get too cold, they become really thick and they stop flowing well under the print in progress on the FEP foil. So the printer does make some heat through the screen, but in the first few layers it could be a problem. So you can just put I think the bottle in the CW1. There will be a preheat mode. It will heat it to like 26 degrees or whatever you set it to, I guess, and you will be sure that the resin will have the correct temperature before you start the print.
Yeah, that's really great. Making sure that the viscosity is right is definitely important to pulling off a good print in a resin printer. And so having this preheat function means that the CW1 gets even more functionality to it than just being your clean out unit. It starts your print and it ends your print, right? Yeah. Like that's
yeah, because cool. It already can do drying of the print after it is washed in the IPA, so it has a heating element. So this is another creative idea that the devs thought of that they can use it for.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see if maybe in the future we can see some way to use the turntable as like a mixer for your resin too, to get your resin mixed up first. And so I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, some of the specialty resins, they need to be heated and stirred for a long time. Right. Like the dental resins, it takes a long time. So
yeah,
but it's needed for them to be especially homogeneous.
Right. Yeah, there's been a lot of activity going out on Twitter about making some kind of like DIY like resin stirs. I think kind of just getting a rock tumbler is probably easy enough for a lot of the cases. But it would be nice to see if there were other solutions out there, and if we had some ways to make that work.
Maybe if you add some steel bearings into the resin, like you have in a paint can.
Right. Well, yeah, and we have the magnet stirrer, right? Like you could actually move the steel bearings. Maybe. So, anyways, just spitballing ideas out here. This is just kind of craziness.
I'm just copying some chats. I see some questions, so I'm saying chat. I'm saving them for later.
Yeah. We will definitely have time for chat later on, so long as again YouTube participates this time. So we announced the contest today about lighting. But we actually have a guest with us who has actually been designing lamps and putting them on Prusa printers for a while. So I'm going to introduce my friend Nick Daimlo, goes by Bugman140 on Prusa printers. I have actually featured some of his prints here on my Prusa printers picks of the week, or at least one of them. So Nick, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having me on. Hang on, let me turn my light back on.
All right.
Blinded me while I was
All right. So this is Nick Daimlo, Bugman140. He has over 100 designs uploaded to Prusa printers since December, which you map that out, and it's like 11 or 12 or something like that a month, which is kind of nuts if you think about it, but nuts in a great way. I mean, this is exactly the kind of thing that we love. So I wanted to bring him on and kind of start a series of from time to time bringing on different designers who could come on and talk about, what they love designing, the tools that they use, and kind of pass some of their knowledge on and highlight the work that they're doing. So so Nick is our first guest. So Nick, tell me a little bit about let's make this go away. How did you get started in 3D design and 3D printable objects?
Well, I'm actually originally a joiner who then started working in offices, designing furniture and furniture components. And with part of that was using CAD modeling software. And then you started to play making things that you wanted for home as well, not just furniture things. And then I was lucky enough that a local makerspace had a 3D printer. So straight away I wanted to make something and print it out in plastic, because you can't just make that in your shed, or you couldn't make that in your shed. And that was kind of like where it started. Yeah, the first thing I ever made was a pendant for Menace's mum, which I designed and printed off in the plastic, but then took it to a jeweler and said, I want you to make me this in silver.
Nice.
And because the way the links all interlocked is like exactly how I wanted it, and said, this is the prototype, make it. So yeah, that was the first thing I ever printed off. Well, printed it in the plastic and took it into the jeweler who made it, replicated it for me.
That's super cool.
So yeah, that was it. And then once I managed to do that, I got the bug and kind of wanted to make more. But at the time, the printers were thousands of pounds and about the size of a Coca-Cola vending machine. Not the kind of thing you could have at home. And then it was just watching them shrink and shrink and shrink.
In both size and cost.
Yeah, to the point where you could get one at home. So yeah, that was it. And then obviously as CAD packages have developed, and the more you play with them, the more you learn how to force them to do what you want, even if they're not particularly happy about doing what you want them to do. And that's half the fun, really, is trying to figure out a way of making interesting designs and shapes when the software doesn't particularly want to try and let you do it.
Yeah, for sure. So what is your CAD package of choice nowadays? Like what do you design primarily in?
Primarily I use Fusion 360.
Oh, okay.
I also dabble in the likes of Sculptress, and I'll also play with Blender from time to time, but
Nice.
almost everything is Fusion 360.
Just looking, like, speaking of the design software, like I looked at this before. How did you do the embossing on the sides? Is it the new emboss in Fusion or?
No, it's so this is a feature that's been available in Fusion for a while. I use the unwrap feature, the sheet metal unwrap.
Oh, so it's flat.
I designed it with a tiny gap in the back.
Right.
Rolled it out flat, put my design on it, making sure that it was a multiple of its width. And then as it rolled back up, it just fixes it. The really interesting thing about the unwrap feature I found was you can apply it more than once. So if you have a curved vase shape, you can roll that out flat, but it's still got the flow. But then you can flatten that out as well, and then do whatever you want on that surface, and then rewrap and rewrap, so you can get some really
That's
elaborate.
interesting. So can you just like make a sketch, extrude that out, then make a like little gap and unwrap that to make it flat, or do you have to start? Yeah. Okay,
Basically, it's, as long as you do it in the sheet metal workflow
Right.
in Fusion. So you make your sketch and you make a tiny gap in it and extrude that out, and then you extrude out one of those faces to give you a flat portion. Then you say, this is flat, this stays still, and the rest come to meet it, and it just unrolls everything perfectly flat. And you
That's
can
a
do whatever you
good
want.
tip. I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to
Not just
play with
not
that.
just embossing, you can do this was from that.
This looks amazing when printed.
Once you've figured out the width of what you've got and divide that and make your pattern tileable by a division of the width, as it wraps back up, it just fixes it and it ends up a seamless pattern that just works.
That is a good hack.
Yeah, no, these are exactly the kind of like tips and tricks that level everybody up that I love, bringing designers on to talk about. This was the thing. I actually have, very similar to that, and this was one of my PrusaPrinters picks from an earlier episode. But yeah, this is your Mesmer printed in our royal blue, and these in particular, like with the shiny filaments, just look so good. And yes, this will very shortly probably have a succulent in it from my wife also. So yeah.
Yeah, I love seeing prints out in the wild. It's kind of why I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, really enjoy when you see someone else has printed something off. Normally, I'll have made something either because I want it, or because I want to try and figure out if I can make it. Like I don't think I can, so then I really have to try and find a way to do it. And then once I've made it, you kind of get the bug, like the pots. You kind of go, oh, I can make this, and then I can quickly make this, and I can quickly make this, and you make them for fun. But then
yeah, I think you and I had actually a discussion about that on Twitter or something, and I was like, yeah, you did something. I was like, oh, I love like single vase mode pots and things like that, and then you just kind of like took off with like a whole series of them, and so
they're quite addictive and they're really fast to print. So you can fill your house full of them in a short time. And you can always find a use for a pot. It can be for putting a pen pot together, or you can put a plant pot in it, or you can always find some use for a pot. Yeah,
I've got cups filled with pencils and pens all around the house that are all printed pots, and I've got plenty of actual plant pots. So this is another one of yours. This is the in the reeds, but I did some slight modifications to this one. So I kind of cut. Here's the kind of like original in the reeds. So I cut the taper off just with a simple slice, and then squished it and widened it out so that it had more of a straight side. And now it's actually used as a hanging basket for a spider plant from my wife, because I designed a stand that it would sit on to make it a hanging basket also. So
cool.
Yeah, and that's on a Mark III for that size. So yeah, do you have any other tools that you kind of use a lot, like other than your CAD package? Is there anything that really helps you out, like as a designer? I know a lot of designers like the 360 mice, or any other thing that like is super useful to you.
I work on my Surface Pro 3, and I have the cheapest £10 mouse from Asda. That because when the dog eats it, I can just go and buy another one. Everything's left out, so that whenever I have an idea, I don't have to go hunting for stuff too far to try and at least start the idea. So I've got a pad that I kind of scribble things down in if I've had an idea or something, or just start a model just to get it started, to kind of rough out the idea, and then I can come back to it. But if the amount of things I'm sure I've had really good ideas and totally forgotten by the time I'm to actually make. So
now are you using the pen on the Surface Pro, or are you just using it like a normal laptop?
For Sculptress.
Okay.
So the skulls that I've got on, I think those are made entirely in Sculptress, just from a sphere.
You have the Mac that's probably a Sculptress thing, no?
And that one was actually Fusion 360. And
really?
That's crazy.
It started in Fusion and then got took into Blender.
Oh yeah, okay.
Separated off all the parts and then sculpted in the surface and then reunited the parts together. Yeah. Like I said, the city that you just went past.
Oh yeah, the spiral city.
That's another use of the unwrapped feature. Because when you see it's just one spiral, and just literally rolled it out into a flat design, and then designed all the buildings on it, and then let it roll back up. And I designed it on purpose that when you look inside, some of the windows have got missing bits and stuff. So you could put a light inside it and run some lights around that to try and give it the idea of like a living city.
This
So
one
the
really
lights-
reminds me, just released like a Zen game on Steam. I don't know if you've seen it, where
Yes.
you build city like this. It has no goal, just to be creative.
Yeah, I think it's Town Builder or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was actually watching Mortal Engines when I was modeling this one. So it's almost like just sliced the wheels off the bottom, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
you can get little bridges inside. There's a little bridge inside there that actually goes up into the one inside it. So it's quite solid as well. It's quite surprising how strong it gets. But again, that's sheet metal. Once you've figured out the sheet metal tool, it's kind of like, okay, what can I make? What can I make? And see how far you can push it until it breaks. And it will break if you try and go too far in or out, mainly in. As it's wrapping back up, it kind of collapses in on itself,
Mhm.
and it'll try and fix it. But if you go too far, it just doesn't like it.
Yeah, one has to be gentle around fusion, you know. No quick movements, just
Yeah. If it goes too far, if you don't do it, then you have to basically unwrap it again. But that's a good thing. You can go back and start tweaking things and then try again. No, unwrap, tweak it again, try again, until you can just. Sometimes you're moving things millimeters at a time, and all of a sudden it starts to work again. So, yeah. So,
That reminds me a little bit of OpenSCAD.
Yeah.
And it was throwing errors, so I was just moving stuff like by 1/100th of millimeters or something until it compiled or the Boolean function started to work. Man.
yeah, it's like if you, especially when you're bending things after the fact, it'll bend something and then fold it inside out, and you've just not realized that just a tiny bit is kind of crossed over in itself, and it just goes nope. But it doesn't really tell you why. You just got to basically try and figure it out. Yeah, if you're patient, you can normally wrestle
Yeah,
it.
I call this random poking.
Yeah. So
Just
for
a-
everyone out there who gets frustrated with their CAD packages and everything else, even the best guys out there still have the same frustrations. They just work through them.
I think if you're not hitting problems, you're not trying hard enough.
that's true.
You're too comfortable with what you're doing. You want to try and make something. I'm normally only really interested in making things that I'm not sure I can make. I'll normally wake up and want to try and figure out if I can do it. Like I said, this one. The whole idea of this one was I wanted to make the torch like they have at the cinema with the flame on the top. So you get the silk inside there and the lights, and well, have it mobile so that my kids could take it trick-or-treating, or I could answer the door holding it at Halloween and really scare some people.
So
It's much more effective and it's really dark. But yeah,
was there a problem which you weren't able to solve? Maybe we could get people in chat to brainstorm.
Oh, I can remember. No, because if I can't figure something out, I will get really annoyed with it and just keep trying and trying and trying until I've got to make it do what I want it to do. Like I said, but sometimes you learn more about what's capable or what's not. So, like I said, the whole when it's folding up and you realize and you're turning something inside out, you think it's just going to mold it and make it work, but then you realize it. As smart as it is, it's not God level smart. You need to help it. But yeah, it's fun. It's all fun trying to wake up and think of something like that, and think, can that even be made? I wasn't sure if it could be made. So a double interlocking Mobius strip sounded really cool. And when you actually got it, it's loose, so it bounces because it is a totally loose self-interlock. So they're just intertwined into each other, but it is one thread that goes around. And I think I dreamt that, and I woke up in the morning, and it was when we was furloughed, so I didn't have to go to work, and I was like, "Can that be done?"
Was it supportless? Just printed as overhang, or how did that print?
Basically, it was printed with supports, but
Okay.
they came up surprisingly easy. So just printed it. You can actually see the angle. So if you look really closely, you can see there's like it's almost like a crystalline surface on it because of the print. So it was printed somewhat like that on supports, and then they just came away really relatively easy. But yeah, that was a wake up in the morning, try and think. I wanted to try and make something I thought of, and just push on until I could do it.
Stephen in the chat says that you should print another torch and some holders for either side of your bed, and make it.
Yeah, I was thinking about making a wall sconce and putting it outside.
Yeah, for doors.
Yeah,
outside the door. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty needs to happen solution.
Yeah.
Right there.
It's like the pirate one. I think this is actually possibly my favorite model, but possibly the pirate lantern. And I wanted to make a wall version of that, so it kind of hangs off the wall.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So just be a different base for it, and because that all prints in separate pieces, so it prints on a normal printer, and just I sprayed it with some cast iron finish to try and make it look.
Are the windows printed too?
Yeah, that's a vase mold print on the inside. So the top comes off, and it was basically a vase mold bucket that he dropped in the top. And then you was on about lights earlier. I just got a load of Christmas lights and jammed them in. Those sparkling Christmas lights, and it looks really cool. I might make a wall version of that, I think.
Yeah, so I think that the first design that I actually printed of yours was your Christmas lantern, which I went looking for, but it's packed away with Christmas stuff, and I just couldn't get to it. But yeah, so you have a very similar design, but for Christmas themed instead of pirate themed, and
basically the pirate one was first, and then Christmas came around, and I wanted a Christmas lantern to put in the middle of my table. And I already had the design for the pirate one, so modified it.
Well, I think your Christmas one came in right around the time of our Christmas contest too, and trying to get into that.
Yeah. So again, that's a vase mold bucket in the middle. All the window panes print separately, just flat on the bed, so there's no support issue. And then it just clipped together.
I finished mine on Christmas Day, and the entire family loved having it as a centerpiece on the table. So it was lovely. But yeah, you do design actually a lot of lamps. So you have that torch, you have the Christmas lamp, you have the pirate lamp, and you have a few more, I think, too.
Yeah, I did the Gothic lantern, this one.
Yeah.
Which then was quickly requested that it should be able to hang it, so I made the hanging version, which is exactly the same except for the swivel toggle on the top, so it can spin in the wind, so it doesn't get broke and it swings around. I think again, it's always hard to pick what's your favorite one and things like that, but this is pretty close. This is pretty good. It feels very.
Now, I'm sure we will see at least one, if not multiple, entries from you in the lamp contest. But do you have any suggestions for anyone else out there who's going to be entering the lamp contest of, how to design lamps?
Just have fun with something. Pick something what's challenging enough that it'll be interesting for you to make, but have something fun. Example, a vase mold print. If you put a light underneath it, can make a really interesting pattern. So you don't need to cut through things. You don't need to. So you can make a steel metal unwrap, punch holes through, and then put a vase mold inside it, and you'll get pattern upon pattern. So you can really layer things up. But yeah, try and make something you really like is always the trick. When you try and make something what someone else likes, it's always harder. So doodle something out, make something interesting that makes you smile is well the main thing. But yeah, don't underestimate a vase mold print for making a lamp. They're really useful. and you can get some really elaborate shapes for your things. For example, one that I'm working on now is going to be for Halloween. But it's so it's a bottle that's going to be full of hellfire. So again, Vasmo print, but modified one of those bulbs that you can get off internet and just they have the different flame effects in them.
Oh, I like that.
So you get the right one. It's actually, there you go. It's actually sparkling, like flickering flame, and has flame running up it. It's blowing out on the camera, but they're quite effective looking. Then when you put it inside the thing, you get a much more like cool effects. But again, it being just a warm bulb, you kind of get away with having it just flickering away in the corner like a candle. So if you want to be smart, but always better to cheat. Something that looks more complicated than it is. That'd be my tip.
Yeah.
I see in the chat that you should go for president. So do we agree?
Graphic says old man for president.
Graphic. Knew they'd start.
And also that we should say hi to Switzerland. Hi, Switzerland.
Hello.
If we're reading things from the chat, I will say Carl Hunt had said that they are looking forward to and expecting Prusa flat caps. And I just want to say I've been pushing for that for like 9 months now or something like that, that we desperately need Prusa branded flat caps. So
flat caps is the type of hat I'm wearing, or what?
Yeah, the type of hat that you normally wear, but with an orange P on the back. And
okay.
Yeah, I totally want a Prusa flat cap.
That is a work for a content team.
I would love to have more merch.
And we haven't done a new swag for a long time.
Yeah, we need to do something.
The hoodies last October.
Yeah. I can't wait for us to be like Linus and just, insert like PrusaShop.com everywhere.
This is a new bottle.
Part of the joke there is I was suggesting before we started the call that I need a Prusa glass for the call, and Mickey's sipping his water there too. We need our Prusa glasses, so. Or I'm assuming water since we're on YouTube, but
Yeah, it is water.
So, anyways, so probably last question here. You've shown a lot of vase mode things too. Do you have any suggestions for people who want to design things for vase mode? Because a lot of your prints work really, really well in vase mode, but I don't know if everyone necessarily thinks about how to print for that or design for that.
Yeah, the only thing I really watch out for with vase modes is try and zoom in on the details and make sure that nothing's too flat. So whenever you try and put a flat thing in, just go back and angle it, because it'll be much more forgiving whenever you do. But the other thing is, it doesn't need to be flat in one dimension, so you can 3D printing, so you can twist it sideways. So for example, the candy cane Christmas tree that I did, or the eggs, they look impossible to print because they're too steep. But I curved the actual cut through so that it was supporting from the inside out as well as from going up the ramp. So then it meant that the reality was that the angle was a lot more forgiving. So you can kind of seemingly print impossible.
Yeah, I can show it.
I'm getting lost.
Yeah, it was a little complicated. Which picture should I?
There's the wrapped egg.
Oh yeah, you had a lot of eggs. Okay, eggs.
Yeah, well, I like holidays. Holidays are nice, easy focus.
I like this one. It's one.
The fifth element, egg is great. Yeah.
Just stop me if I'm.
Yeah, so it's a big Easter egg with a bow on it.
Oh, okay. You have so many. You make way too many designs, man.
No, he makes a perfect amount of designs. There you go.
This one?
So the wrapped egg, the angle of that looks like it shouldn't ever print. But when you actually unscrew it, the inside curves outwards as well. So instead of just doing a straight cut that twisted up, I made like an S shape, so that as it rotated and cut up through the egg, it became self-supporting in two directions.
I see. So these 2 points, can you see my mouse? Oh, you can. Are not.
So the bone.
Not in line, right?
Bone clips. No, so where the bone clips off the top.
Yeah.
And then the egg actually unscrews off each other.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So
click on the middle image there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So where the egg kind of screws in, you look at the angle of that and think you shouldn't really be able to print it. But when you actually unscrew it, it's not a straight cut that's spiraling up. It's an angle. It's a curved cut that's angling up.
Yeah,
So
the candy cane stem of the Christmas lamp does the same thing too. And I was the same thing. When I first printed it, I was like, there's no way this is going to print. And then when you actually print it, you can see the way that those layers support themselves.
Yeah,
the way it's cut.
It's just try and find ways of easing the support, and then you can try and make things that look like they should never print.
Yeah.
Because then that's more fun.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
That's really great, and we really appreciate you coming on and sharing some of your expertise and some of your favorite models there and things like that. So yeah, it was really great having you, and we look forward to seeing what you create in the future, and also look forward to having some other designers on in the future. So if you're posting a lot of things to Prusa Printers and lots of cool designs, just hit me up and let's see if we can get you on the show. It would be a good time. But Nick, thanks, and I'm sure we will be talking on the internet soon. But have a great day. Thanks for coming on.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, yeah. And Mect accidentally. It was great.
All right, Mickey's back.
Yep.
Is the stream still working if you got kicked out?
Yep.
All right. I think we're back.
Yeah, very good.
All right. All right. Sorry about that. Screwing things up. This time it's my fault.
The chat is having a good time. It's okay.
Yes. Oh well. We're back. So it's Q&A time. We've already got a couple questions in there from people, and let's see what else we have here. So Zach Smith had asked us previously what our favorite colors were for printing, but he's asking now what our favorite material is to print in: ASA, TPU, PLA, PETG, etc. Do you guys have any particular favorites that you like to print in?
So generally the PLA is my favorite, but each material has something different. It's like picking which of your children you like the most.
Yeah.
But also what is interesting, what many people don't print is very, very tough flexibles. They, basically people, when they try to print flexible filaments, they get as flexible as possible. But if you are not aiming for something which is like, very rubbery, it can make excellent tough prints, which basically you cannot destroy.
Yeah, totally. I actually like some of those like higher shore hardness materials because of just that. Like you can make stuff that just takes a beating, and you take PLA prints. Like we take a lot of stuff off to shows, right? And you take PLA prints out, and that first time that kid goes and drops it off of a table and the thing shatters everywhere. It's just but some of those, like you say, some of those harder shore hardness will still print well, but will have a lot more resilience to them because they flex.
Yeah, and they're also very easy to print.
Yeah, which is kind of where, so I am loving PETG more and more and more. because of some of those same things. It's got more flexibility to it, and so it's a lot more resilient than just a PLA print. But it still prints really well. And I feel like mass production, I really like tuned in my pet printing parameters and like get everything working. And now it's like, oh, I mostly want to print pet all the time because it just prints so well. How about you, Mickey?
Yeah, I'm gonna be lame, and I'm gonna go with PLA too, because I sometimes feel like I should use some like industrial grade material, but truth is, most of the time like PLA is just fine. And like even when thinking about hardness, or like it being like physically resilient, like PLA, like if it's thick enough, it will survive a lot of beating too.
Oh yeah.
So
Mikolas, you have a testing lab just 2 floors below you.
Yeah.
Where you can get any material made, and you pick PLA.
Yeah. Yeah, it's lame, I know. But like you said, it's hard to pick because really it's depending on the project. I love that I can smooth ASA and then I can glue it easily with acetone. And I've just been printing ASA like the past few days for a project I'm working on, so it depends. It always depends on the project. I can't say I have a really favorite.
I'm hoping to get a sneak peek of that project after the call. So.
Oh yeah, you will. I'm so stoked about it, and the chat will have to wait a little bit, I guess.
I mean, the search for the perfect material is still not over. I mean, easy to print, not warping, printing at room temperature, lasting 100 degrees Celsius, UV stable.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've got a really great point there. That like, I think back when we were all printing in ABS, right? Because that was all there really was. And I still like ABS for some things, although ASA has kind of like taken that over as like, why not use ASA? But the kind of growth of where 3D printing materials is going, I don't think is anywhere close to being done. We just released the PC blend, which gives people really, a really high-end engineering grade plastic that, previously was very difficult to print, but now it prints beautifully.
Yeah, we can ask people who are in chat if anyone tried that for their experience.
Oh yeah, the PC one.
So far I've heard very good things.
Yeah.
The stuff I've printed with it so far has been fantastic. So I'm super.
Oh yeah,
impressed
we have
by
the
it.
first responder, Emus, is saying that it's awesome.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm still waiting to appreciate is ASA's UV stability, the resistance to sun outside, because even PLA prints will survive like 1 season-ish outside. And I've done some ASA prints for my cottage, and it hasn't been, that long since we released ASA. It's like a year or something. Maybe it's more, time flies. But still, I think it's really gonna start to show a lot that the ASA prints will be fine, and the really initial ones that I did in PLA, some of them are already kind of dying, some of them are still fine.
Yeah.
So
the kind of classic famous, it's been around for many years, but the digital solar or sundial, where you put it out and it displays the time. I printed one of those quite a few years ago in ASA, and it sat outside in my garden for like 2-3 years, and it looks like it came off the printer. You wash off the dirt that's collected on it, of course, and it looks like it came off the printer. It's great. Now, that being said, I think it was late last summer, early last fall, I printed my Prusa community license plate holder out of PLA, and everyone was like, oh, it's not going to survive the heat. The first summer it's going to melt. It's dirty from road dirt. I need to clean it out every once in a while at the car wash. But other than that, it looks great too, and it's surviving on the back of my car, driving around everywhere. So, yeah.
How does the license plate mounting work in you guys? Do you screw through the metal plate, or is it just popped in to the holder?
So you screw through the metal plate. The metal plate has 4 bolt holes in it. and
Okay.
you can put basically a frame around it. So my print has the 4 bolt holes in it, and it just goes through and it frames your license plate.
So it is not structural.
No, it's not structural.
Mike says that the PC blend works very well for him, but that he would like a dedicated build sheet for it because of the need for a glue stick.
That's not a bad idea.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely something that as we see kind of the adoption pickup would be, interesting to look into.
Yeah.
Okay. So Joe, this is probably a big question for you, being a printer designer yourself. What do you think about remote drive extruders? Is it just a gimmick, or is it the future? Of course, it needs to be as reliable as Bowden or direct drive. Is it worth working on as a community?
So, if it's done properly, it works as good as direct drive from what I've saw. But I mean, if you are trying to do something simple and affordable, and you absolutely doesn't need to have the featherweight extruder, I would say the addition of other parts just makes it not worth it. But I mean, if you need a super light extruder, go for it. I don't think there are many use cases. I mean, if you want to fly that fast, that 50 grams is too much for you as an addition of a direct drive. I highly doubt that the filament laying down capability will. I mean, you would be laying down the filament too fast anyway. So.
Well, and we've seen on the Mini that like a short tube Bowden can still give you really great results too. The kind of less distance that you're adding in on that run, causing more friction and more spring in the system and everything else. The more you can reduce that, the better off you are. And so, some cases, a remote Bowden like that or a short tube Bowden isn't bad.
I mean, from the long term, it is most likely that the less parts mean more reliable.
Yeah.
So this adds a lot of parts, even though it saves in some cases.
I love I think it's Elon Musk quote that the best part is no part in this case.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen the Zesty Nimble, and I've seen a couple other of the remote direct drive things and things like that, and they definitely seem cool. But I definitely agree. I feel like it's integrating a level of complexity that isn't always necessary, and so it depends. But that being said, is it worth the community developing? Is part of the question. I think yeah. I mean, if that's what you're into, you might be able to find a way to make something like that again reduces the part count and simplifies things. I mean, if there's one thing that Joe should be praising, it's taking complicated objects and simplifying them, because we wouldn't be here without a simplified Mendel, right?
I mean, so who is remembering fondly of the end-stop switches? I mean, that is a perfect example of a part which, if you get rid of cleverly, makes much more reliable thing in the long term, because that was a lot of support requests where something wasn't homing properly and stuff like that. I'm so glad that we got rid of those. I'm so glad.
Cody, the improper engineer, asked a question. I know Mikolas, you mentioned that this would be something good to show. Are you able to set the 3D bed for custom printers we add in Prusa Slicer?
Sure. So if you go to printer settings, the very first thing, it's bed shape may be slightly confusing, I guess. But here you have a new dialog where you can set both the texture and the model. So I will load the model that I did a while back. And you can see that instead of just the simplified bed, I now have a full-fledged Mark III. You can also see that it's not perfectly aligned. So the one thing that you have to watch out for with custom models is the origin of the STL, basically. So you might have to fiddle with that. It's really easy to edit in Blender, for example, and Blender is free, so that's a suggestion. And the other one is, this is not the best idea, like having a whole printer, because the poly count will be kind of high for no reason. So, you know, Slicer is rendering a lot of triangles kind of unnecessarily. So if you load a super high sculpt here, that's, you know, just gonna be slowing Slicer down a bit. So try to keep the poly count as low as possible. I think that's why we have the bets so simple. Yeah, but so just to, you know, reiterate, printer setting, bed shape, and here you can set the STL for the shape and the texture, and I think the texture gets stretched to precisely fit the area of the printer, which you can set here also. So just make sure that it's the right size. And the cool thing is that it supports vector, so SVG, I think, so it can have infinite resolution, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of people are using alt computers, like even if it's for quick slicing in their workshop. So it is good to be cautious with these things. And actually, we implemented the SVG textures for the bed, so the slicer can actually render it into the texture when it knows the viewport size and the resolution, so it doesn't hold down the. For example, if people are using very old integrated graphics.
Yeah, wasn't the case before, but you know, no matter what size texture you use, you can always zoom more. But with vector, I think, which we've been using for some time, it really doesn't matter how close you get, it will still be perfectly sharp, which is very nice because sometimes you do print very tiny things, and it gets a little bit annoying to look at a fuzzy white line.
Yeah. All right, so we have we got people really excited and salivating over Prusa Slicer 2.3.
Yeah.
And we've got lots of questions out there about, you know, when's it coming, and you know, what's the status and things like that. Do we have any updates there?
Mid-September, I think, still.
Okay.
Yeah, for the alpha.
Yeah.
I think the paint on
Paint on supports?
Yeah.
Yeah, paint on supports, but also the start point of the layer. So basically,
nice.
Oh yeah, paint on seam. I think we haven't actually talked about that, so that's maybe new for the chat. So yeah, that's also another thing that will be in Slicer 2.3, most likely.
So, you know, that is a good example of, like, you know, I know everyone's really antsy for it and really excited to get it, but, you know, more features are coming, and, you know, more work is being done so that it can be improved and faster and more reliable and everything else.
Yeah,
so,
someone in
chat, the wait is still definitely worth it.
Someone in chat said that he compiled the 2.3 alpha himself, and then it's not running awesomely for him, and that's kind of precisely why it's not publicly out yet, because
right,
the features are there, they just need some polish and testing.
Oh yeah, I mean, until it is tagged for release, you cannot judge it. We had that in the 8-bit form, that people were looking under our hats when we were working and judging based on incomplete code. So I mean, it is just work in progress.
Right.
So not testing.
Still, we say mid-September, but mid-September is only a couple weeks away at this point. So, you know, that's exciting. So
yeah, but you have, I mean, for example, if you are still developing, you leave a lot of like the developer or debugging stuff in, which makes it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I have a real quick one here. This is again from Zach Smith. This is a question just for Joe. Joe, what is your personal favorite printer? You've made lots of different printers over the years and things like that. Do you have a specific printer that, like, is super fond to your heart?
Oh, my Mini on my table in the office.
Your Mini's your favorite?
Yeah, it is the only one I use now.
Awesome. Well, that was a quick and easy an easy answer. So
More-
yeah.
Or did I not understand the question?
Oh no,
Yes.
no, that was it. He was kind of wondering if maybe it was one of your early Mendels or anything like that because of the designing it and things like that. But I think
No.
that the Mini's your favorite is actually probably a good testament as to how great the Mini is.
I mean, yesterday I just picked the model of the week, sliced it on a USB drive, put it in the printer, confirmed, and went home. And today I have wonderful print.
Yeah, the Mini it just does kill me about how much I love that machine and how good it is. So, yeah.
Maybe a last one that was a question also connected to the Mini was more functions for Prusa Connect for the Mini, and Prusa Connect that's in the cooking too. I think more features will come in the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, excellent. Well, other than me kicking Mikolas out, this is a pretty smooth show. And that's
You guys didn't realize one big fail, and that is I'm using my MacBook camera all the night, and I look at garbage, and you didn't tell me, and I didn't realize that because I was very, very late. And I'm looking all night into a camera pointing at me, but it is not
It looks fine.
yes, yeah, you look fine. We all learned long ago never to tell the boss he looks like
Chet
garbage,
didn't notice too.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, that's our show for the week. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Can't wait for the next show, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Keep printing and stay safe. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.